Hello, this is Rich Hendon. What you're about to watch is kind of a Reader's Digest version of a webinar that we did the evening of August 12, 2015. We're going to make this presentation much shorter so that it's easy to upload to our websites at YourCash Toolbox and YourCash Dialing. And I'll be going through this material as quickly as possible. If you have questions and you weren't able to attend the webinar to ask them, you can use our customer service phone number or email address at the website that you go to obtain our products and services, whether it be YourCash Toolbox or YourCash Dialing. All right, so let's get started. Thank you for watching this webinar. And I guess the first thing you want to know is, why are we here? What are we talking about here today? Well, it's simple. I want all of you to be able to continue your voice broadcast marketing, but even more important, to continue to do it legally. As of about 2 months ago, a change was made to the law by the Federal Communications Commission. Now, as most of you know, our leads may be called with an autodialer, but that's only because the phone numbers have a business status since they were found on a business website. This has applied to landlines and cell phones. Well, as I said, the FCC had a huge meeting back in June, and at this meeting, they took a new stance on cell phones. Whether or not the cell phone number was found on a business website is no longer relevant. You can't use an autodialer to call a cell phone unless you have prior, explicit, and separate written permission from the owner of that number to do so. And what does that mean? Well, quite simply, it means that the way we do voice broadcasting is no longer legal for cell phones. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute while you look at this ad for a 9-state law firm called Morgan & Morgan. And I'm sure many of you have seen ads like this on television where lawyers are saying, if you've received an unwanted automated call to your cell phone, you can collect up to $1,500 per unwanted call. And the attorneys are going after this business like there's no tomorrow because there's a lot of money in it for them. This is one of the reasons why it's really important now to be legal. You don't want to give a cell phone owner that you dialed illegally a chance to sue you, and as long as you stay legal, they can't sue you. Here is a screen capture of the Federal Communications Commission open agenda meeting where all this information I'm going to give you now was announced. So this is kind of a bitter pill to swallow unless we have some options. Well, we do have options. Let's look at what they are. One of them is to simply ignore the law, be an ostrich, bury your head in the sand. You just continue dialing the way you always have for landlines and cell phones. Now, let me make it clear, dialing landlines the way we're currently doing all our dialing right now is still okay. I'm just talking about cell phones. You could ignore the law. You might get stung. You might not. We don't recommend this. We don't think it's worth the risk. What's another option? You could dial the old way, but scrub the list. That is, delete all of the cell phone numbers. But if you wanted to do that, even though you'd be compliant, you'd be giving up a lot, because 60% or more of active MLMers, active network marketers, and that's who you guys are calling because they're the best prospects for you, they're putting their cell phone number on their business website because they want to be able to receive the call from prospective new recruits no matter where they are or what they're doing. Again, you can't call them the current way with an auto dialer. So out of every 100 people that you try to call, Now you'd have to get rid of 60 of them if you wanted to dial the old-fashioned way. What's another option? Well, you can use other marketing tactics like email, postcards, direct mail. If you can get a marketing email in an inbox, God bless you. Most of the experts tell me it's almost impossible now. Everybody throws away direct mail. Postcard marketing isn't working. The reason that the pros continue to use voice broadcasting is because it gets your message to the intended recipient better than any other marketing method, hands down, end of story. So, what are we going to do? Well, let's look and see what the screen tells us. It says, but wait, there's more. Yep, we have some good news. There is one more option, and it's called ringless voicemail or ringless voicemail drops. Now, this is a relatively new technology that is 100% compliant with the law because it can leave a message on a cell phone without dialing the cell phone and without making the cell phone ring. Yep, you heard me correctly. I said that we can leave a message on someone's cell phone without actually calling them, without it ringing. So you're probably wondering, how does that work? Well, here's a diagram I'll let you look at for a minute and then I'll continue. As you may know, the hardware and software that allows you to receive voicemails on your cell phone isn't actually housed inside your phone. Your cell phone carrier has multiple servers that receive and store all of your voicemail messages for you to retrieve at your convenience. With ringless voicemail, our system creates a conversation, if you will, with those servers, our computer talking to their computer, and drops the voicemail message right into the voicemail box account of the cell phone number associated with your lead. Now, this is the only compliant way to include cell phones in your voice broadcasting, and here are the reasons why it is crystal clear that it's compliant. No phone call is ever made directly to the targeted subscriber or cell phone. Only a landline to landline session, also known as system to voicemail server, is established to deliver that message. The targeted subscriber isn't billed for the call. The phone doesn't ring and the network is not carrying an active call. The FCC defines voicemail services as an enhanced information service. Who cares? You do. Why? Because the FCC has intentionally chosen not to regulate enhanced information services. So this we like, ringless voicemail, RVM. Is it perfect? Maybe yes, maybe no. The cost most everywhere you look is high. For example, iBuzz Pro, that does a lot of advertising about their ringless voicemail system, they charge 15 cents for successfully delivered ringless voicemail unless you want to be a reseller for them, and then you can get it for 10 cents. There's another company out there that charges a retail rate of 9 cents, but if you buy quantities as big as, say, 4 million ringless voicemail drops, maybe you can get that down to a nickel or 5 cents. Now, how does that compare to the price that you're currently paying for delivering messages to people's voicemails, either landlines or cell phones? I've already kind of given it away that we're going to be able to help you on these high prices with this slide that says Mission Impossible accomplished, so there's no suspense here. But in any event, to compare those rates of 15 cents, 10 cents, 9 cents, 5 cents to what you're currently paying for leaving a voicemail message on a cell phone as you do now, first we needed to calculate the average length of a voicemail message. Now that includes the greeting that is played when the phone is answered by the voicemail system. Hi, this is Rich Hendon, I'm not here right now, etc. And it also includes your marketing message. And after looking at over 100,000 successfully delivered voicemail messages, we determined that the length of an average voicemail delivered was 1.4 minutes. So the next thing we had to do was calculate what you're paying per minute. Well, that is determined by how many minutes you're buying. As you know from our websites, the more minutes you buy, the smaller rate you pay per minute. So let's look at the lowest rate for an example to start. If you're buying 20,000 minutes under our subscription plan, you're only paying 1.8 cents per minute. So if you take that 1.8 cents per minute and multiply it times the length of the average voicemail delivered, which is 1.4 cents, you get a cost of 2.52 cents right now per average voicemail successfully delivered. If you are buying 10,000 minutes, you're paying a slightly higher rate per minute right now. You're paying a slightly higher rate per successfully delivered voicemail, probably somewhere around 2.8 cents or maybe 3.1 cents, but it's all pretty low, really low compared to the rates all these other companies are charging for ringless voicemail drops. And this is the reason that we didn't have this webinar a whole lot sooner, because we've been trying to find a way to get those prices down, and we were hitting a lot of brick walls and wondering what in the world we were going to do, because I didn't know how I was going to tell you that if you wanted to dial cell phones, I have to charge you 10 cents or 15 cents. Well, we have been successful in accomplishing our mission, and I am so happy to announce that your rates are not changing. Whatever it costs you right now, and that's determined by your rate per minute, which is determined by how many minutes you're buying every time, whatever it's costing you now for the average 1.4 minutes successfully delivered voicemail, that's exactly what it's going to cost you for a ringless voicemail drop. And I hope that you understand just how significant that is. We're charging you as low as 2.52 cents when the competition is charging 5 if you buy 4 million of them, or more than likely for most of you, 9, 10, or 15 cents. Think of that, 15 cents compared to 2.52, or compared to 2.8, or compared to 3.1. And in addition, even though most of the other companies are charging you for voicemail drops that are attempted, whether or not they're successfully delivered, we are only charging for the successful deliveries. And that's a huge difference. Now you might say, well, why wouldn't a voicemail drop be successfully delivered? There's two main reasons. A lot of people, for some reason, never set up their voicemail system, so we can't drop a voicemail into a voicemail box that's not activated. And number two, sometimes people don't check their voicemails often enough, so their voicemail box is full. We can't leave a message if the mailbox is full. So what does this mean to you? Well, there's no change in the price. You're not going to see any price changes in the payment links that we have on our website. What you will see for each payment link that relates to minutes is that it will say with ringless voicemails for cell phones automatically. That's going to be added to every payment link starting on Sunday night. Why Sunday night? Because we're going to be able to start ringless voicemails to cell phones on Monday, August the 17th. So we don't want to mislead you by putting the new verbiage in the links right now today and make you think that we're delivering ringless voicemail todays when in fact it's not going to start until Monday. Now, in addition to helping you stay compliant in voice broadcasting without giving up all those cell phone prospects, there are some other improvements to the system. I just want to mention two of them. Most of you, when you set a schedule to start dialing, say at 1 p.m., It will start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, but 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. Pacific. Some of you, especially those of you that are veterans and do a lot of dialing, you think that it's better, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Each of us is entitled to their own opinion, but you would prefer that if you're starting at 1 p.m., you start at 1 p.m. in every time zone. Now, currently, to do that, you need to set up 4 different schedules, one for each time zone, so that your dialing, in addition to starting at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, will also start 1 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, and 1 o'clock Pacific. Then you need to take our lead file and divide it up so that all the leads for Eastern are separate from the leads for Central, from the leads for Mountain, from the leads for Pacific. Then you need to upload the Eastern Time Zone leads to the Eastern Time Zone schedule, the Central Time Zone leads to the Central Time Zone schedule. You get that it's a whole lot of work, and those of you that are already doing it, I don't have to tell you it's a whole lot of work because you know. Well, take a look at this. Starting today, in fact, we don't have to wait for Monday until this. If you look at that line that says local time dialing restriction, and you leave the 9 o'clock and the 2100, that's just military time for 9 p.m. in there, all that's doing is stating that no matter what time zone you're dialing in, the calls will never start before 9 and they'll never continue past 9 p.m. because the law requires that. However, if you have a dialing schedule, and again in our example it's starting at 1 p.m., and you want it to start at the same time in every time zone, 1 p.m., that in that local start time you put 1 p.m., but you do it in military time, which would be 1300. And then if you want it to end at 3 p.m. in every time zone, not just Eastern, then in the local end time you put 3 p.m., but again in military time, 1500, and that's all you need to do. No more 4 different schedules, no more dividing up your lead file into 4 different sets of leads. And the people that I have queried about whether or not this is something that is helpful have all said to me, Rich, I sure wish that was available back when I first started. And you can do all that with just those 2 lines. They can't believe it. Now, in addition, we're going to make it possible for you to actually be able to get more connects on your dialing. And let me explain. Currently, the platform is blocking out some small geographic pockets where the local telephone carriers charge an arm and a leg for a delivered long distance call. And you'll notice when you do a dialing, if you look at your dialing progress report at the end of the schedule, and on that pie chart, you may see problem calls 12%, 15%, 18%. This is one of the reasons why we always add 15% to your lead order to offset that. But quite a few of those problem calls are caused by the fact that our platform is blocking out those higher priced areas. Well, as a reseller, I have been complaining and other resellers have been complaining, we're in union on this, to the carrier to stop doing that no matter what it takes, and they have finally stopped doing that, and you're going to see that change effective on August the 17th. You're going to have a lot more connects than you do right now. Now, the platform's going to have some different things in it to accommodate ringless voicemails, and that's new stuff to learn, but most of you have us set up your campaigns and your dialing schedules anyway, so for you, it's nothing. Those of you that do your own setup work, you will have a short learning curve, but we're going to help you with that, just like we did with the system the way it is today. And again, this is all going to be effective Monday, August 17th. And in case it's not clear to you, I want to make sure that it becomes crystal clear. We are not stopping calling landlines. There's no need to do that. We're just going to keep calling them the way we always have. The message that you use for landlines, for live answer, or for answering machines is going to keep on working perfectly well. But what we're doing, and it's all behind the scenes, is that automatically the cell phones are going to have a ringless voicemail dropped onto their server so that you won't be in violation of this new law in any way, shape, or form. Now, I have one more thing to talk about, but again, I want to remind you, if you have any questions, call our customer service number. It's 573-213-4088, or send an email to service@yourcashtoolbox.com if you get to us through that system, or service@yourcashdialing.com if you get to us through there. Need to take a little drink of water. 1 second, please. I have one more thing that I must mention to you, and this is a very, very strong suggestion. It's not a mandate, but please take heed. The experts, people that know a lot more about this than we do, have done a lot of market testing, and they've determined that the type of message that should be used for these ringless voicemail drops to cell phone isn't the same as the message that you're currently using. It's got to be shorter. It can't sound like a sales pitch. Hey, how'd you like to make $10,000 in your first week? And it needs to sound like you manually dialed that number and spoke every word of that message yourself. In other words, you don't want it to sound like a pre-recorded message. And I've heard some great examples of this from the people that were helping us with beta testing, customers that a whole lot of you know. Let me give you an example of one. I don't do it as well, but I'll do it the best I can. Hello? Hello? I guess I missed you. Anyway, this is Rich Hendon, and I wanted to give you a little more information about my website you went to earlier. It will only take you a couple of minutes of your time, and if you like what you hear and see, you can call me back on my number that should be in your caller ID. But let me give you my website again in case you misplaced it. It's justshowmethemoney.com. Again, it's www.justshowmethemoney.com, and I look forward to chatting with you. Thanks. Now, if you could record your own message, that's terrific. But I know a lot of you don't like to do recordings, so we have male and female recording artists standing by because we know there's going to be an onslaught of requests for these messages at just $15. We're just trying to cover our cost here. So beginning sometime Sunday evening, when all of this goes live on our websites, you're going to see a new payment link for this message for ringless voicemails. Now, if you decide to record the message yourself, it's got to be 60 seconds or less, otherwise it won't be dropped. That should not be a problem. The message I just read to you was only about 26 seconds, so I think you'll be fine. One last item, some of you are using what I'll call a conference call system, and you're dialing live answers only to landlines and cell phones and getting them to push 1 if they want to connect to a conference call. You can't do that with cell phones anymore. It's not legal. So you need a different type of message to somehow get them to that conference call or get them to your website instead. There are 3 major players in that type of marketing, 3 fellows named Jesse, Kurt, and DJ. Now, Jesse was one of our beta testers, and he's come up with some super ideas on messages for the ringless voicemail drops to cell phones that'll get people to the conference call or get them to the website. He's getting a lot of website traffic, but he also noticed that he's using up his minutes faster and wanted to know why. The reason is now he's not just doing live answer, he's also doing voicemail drops. So you will be expecting that, but if you don't, you're going to be losing 60% of your market. And you definitely don't want to do that. And it's a very, very worthwhile, small additional amount to be able to keep dialing those cell phones. So if you're not sure what kind of messages you should be leaving, if Jesse's at the top of your group, find your way to him or Kurt or DJ. And if they haven't decided anything yet, then ask them if they can call Jesse to see what he's doing. I'm sure he'll be happy to share. Well, that is the end of this presentation. Thanks for listening. And again, with any questions, you know what to do. This is Rich Hendon signing off until our next webinar. You all have a great day.